Are plateaus harder to overcome as you become closer to your goal?
Absolutely. And I tell everybody, the leaner you get, the tougher it gets. No question about that.
All right, we are back for another episode of Sup Beast. As always, Zane Spruce, Neal Spruce, and today we're going to talk about weight loss plateaus. You know, we're a little bit into the new year now. Probably made some progress on your weight loss, if that was one of your New Year's resolutions or if that's just a goal you have in general. But what happens as you go down the road oftentimes is you're going to hit a plateau. Okay, so whether your progress just slows down or stops entirely is what a plateau is. So today we're going to talk about how to overcome weight loss plateaus. All right, so I'll lay down some groundwork here on kind of what we're talking about. Let's just say you're a little bit into your journey, your weight loss journey here, and you had a goal of around 50 pounds or so, and you're halfway through. That number can be whatever you want it to be, but let's just say you've made progress and now it's slowed down, and we're going to talk about how to break through that plateau. So let's start with, we kind of touched on it. What is a weight loss plateau?
Yeah. And I do want to clarify something for everybody. We are going to kind of refer to weight loss. You know, in my world, it's body fat loss, body fat reduction. So what a body composition plateau means that your body fat and your muscle has stopped moving in either direction. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because the problem with saying weight loss plateau, you could end up gaining, if you work with me, you could gain 2 or 3 pounds of muscle while you're losing 2 or 3 pounds of fat. That would be a weight loss plateau.
Yeah.
You're exactly the same weight. But your body composition has changed. There are going to be more calories, get to eat more, and you feel better and all that. And of course, eventually, the weight will come down. You know, if you have more body fat that you have to lose. So anyway, just want to clarify that for everybody.
No, perfect. That's what you're here for. That's being an expert. You know.
So I do want everybody to remember one thing: you focus on body fat reduction. We always just measure body fat every 2 weeks to make sure it's moving in the right direction. So if I can refer to body fat reduction plateau, I can do weight if everybody wants, because it's okay for some people to lose overall weight if they're very, very overweight, because they put on a lot of muscle to carry that extra fat around. Okay, so they can lose a little bit. It's okay. We don't want to, but I'm just saying for the most part. It's okay.
We'll refer to it.
Okay.
You know,
I'll just say weight and fat reduction.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
We'll
you know how it is. Like everyone calls it weight loss, you know, but it's really fat loss.
Well, that's what we want.
Right. In an ideal world.
Unfortunately, that's not what it is for your conventional diet.
Hopefully, that's why we need to clarify. Because if you're new, you might be like, oh, you need to be talking about fat loss. If you check out every video of ours, we're always referring to weight loss as fat loss. But I get it. People out there. Clarify. Thank you. How do plateaus happen? Especially like when you are following a diet and you are, you're adhering to it. You are in a calorie deficit, seemingly. And now your progress is like either tremendously slowed down or it's stopped.
Yeah. Goal always is try to get ahead of that, which almost nobody can, unless you really know what we know. We work with so many people on this, and all the people that we train, our trainers are all taught how to do this. But here's what's happening. So let's say you start out at 200 pounds, okay, and your goal is 170, just for now, okay. So what's going to happen is you're going to start your training regime or whatever you're going to do for exercise or movement. Some people don't even do a whole lot of exercise, but they're moving. So you how many calories you're burning a day. And let's say you're burning at 200 pounds, you're burning 2,500 calories a day because you're not that active a person.
Yeah.
Okay. So you start out at 2,000 calories a day, your deficit. So technically you should lose about a pound a week of weight. Okay, because conventional diet.
You said how much calories a deficit?
500 calories a day.
Oh, I thought you said 200.
Yeah, 500 calories a day. Yeah, 200 pounds. Your 500 calorie a day deficit. So you start at 2,000 calories.
Right.
Well, what's going to happen now? Your body's going to have to figure out. Your body goes into its defense mechanism. So as soon as you cut your calories, it does a couple things. One, it recognizes, well, they may not eat again. So let's change the way we think about things. And the body starts to now put on defenses. It makes your appetite grow a little bit, tricking you to get that fat back. Because what we didn't know for many years, Zane, is that our fat cells are actually endocrine cells. They actually release messages to the body. Don't lose me. Don't lose me. And when they do, they start sending all these messages out to different parts of the body. It gets your appetite to the hypothalamus, to the eating center, and it tells you to start stepping up your food. Okay, and then there's a little bit of flexing in it. So instead of, we wants to get rid of what uses the calories the most. Because fat only uses like 2 calories a day per pound, right? Muscle, believe it or not, only uses 6 calories per day. People think, oh, God, muscle burns so much more than fat. Yeah, not much. It's sedentary muscle.
Yeah.
When you move it, you can burn up to 25, 30 calories in that if you're moving, and using your muscle, but still 3 times more. That's significant. It's significant. But when you add up, you put on 10 pounds of muscle, and only 6 calories a day per pound, 60 extra calories a day I burnt by putting on 10 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
But it keeps you from losing it, and now you're fat, and of course fat doesn't burn hardly any calories. So now you're in a much better place because you propel yourself better, you're biomechanically better, all these good things happen. And also your organs, you haven't lost weight in your organs either, because you lose weight in your organs when you lose weight too. So what's happened now is your body starts to get rid of those things a little bit of muscle, a little bit of organ weight, because that's where all the calories are burned. So now guess what happens?
What?
Now it's gotten rid of enough stuff, and you're lighter. Let's say you get all the way down to 190 before you get to your first plateau. You're 10 pounds lighter. So are you going to burn more calories, 10 pounds lighter, or less calories?
Less.
Doing the same thing.
You just took off a vest.
Exactly. You just took off 2 5-pound dumbbells and threw them away.
Yeah.
Right? And now you do everything that way. You walk in the treadmill that way. You do everything 10 pounds less. So, and your body is also more efficient. Your heart, let's say your cardiovascular system sucked when you were 200 pounds. Now you've been working out a little bit, moving around, getting cardiovascular shape. Now your heart's beating less times per minute, which is a really good thing, okay? And everything's kind of clearing up, and now your fitness is actually bringing down the amount of calories you burn when you do work. Because when you are really fat and you walk upstairs, they're out of breath right away. Well, when you get in shape, you walk upstairs, you're not out of breath. So did you burn more calories when you were out of breath going upstairs, hauling that weight around? Of course. So what happened is your fitness, your overall fitness is reducing the amount of calories. You're very economical the way you burn calories because you're lighter. Your whole cardiovascular system works easier, doesn't take that many calories to propel you like it used to, and you come to a plateau. So you've got to change something. That's what it is.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is you're adhering to a diet and you were in a deficit, but now your fitness has gone up and now you're no longer in a deficit. You're in maybe energy balance.
Right, and you're back in energy balance now. Yeah. Okay, and it's time to make a move one way or another. Now, you got a bunch of choices, but I'll let you ask the questions on that. Yeah, what do we get there? That's what a plateau is. But again, let's take body composition isn't changing. Because I can keep you in a weight plateau by putting on 2 pounds of muscle, but you've lost 2 pounds of fat. You'd be the happiest person in the world. Yeah. You should be. You're much healthier. Yeah.
I'll just preface this. So when it comes to a weight loss or fat loss plateau, is it always a matter of calories in, calories out?
Well, I mean, to break it, you have to change one or the other or both.
Right.
Without a doubt.
So like being in a deficit is
because you're not in a deficit.
Yeah.
A deficit is mandatory one way or another if you're going to lose body fat, okay, to a body fat or weight, shall we say. A deficit is mandatory. You certainly got to do that. When I say you could lose body fat eating maintenance if you're putting on muscle, we talked about this in the last episode,
right.
how to put on muscle. So that's a different calorie manipulation.
Yeah.
But if your goal is to really hit a number like 150 or go from 20% body fat down to 10, you're going to be in a deficit almost all the way down at some point. The trouble is the deficit's going to close. Body's job is to close the deficit, and it will do it.
Yeah.
It will defend you so you don't just melt away and die. Just imagine if you went into a 500-calorie deficit and you just kept losing a pound a week. When does that ever stop? Well, it stops because the body makes you stop.
Right. So, and then we talked about why the progress slows down, and that's because you become more fit.
More fit and lighter, more fit. You move better. Your whole body moves easier.
So your calories out is actually, unless you obviously deliberately work out or exercise to boost that calories out, if you were to keep everything the same that you're doing before, but now you've gone down in weight, your total daily caloric expenditure is going down.
It's definitely going to be less.
And so you're closing that gap is what you're saying of that deficit.
Yeah.
What adjustments do you need to make in the diet if it was to come from the diet? Or how are you going to attack this now through diet, exercising, lifestyle?
So I give everyone a choice. We teach all our trainers. We got hundreds of thousands of trainers around the world. We teach them exactly how to work with their client on that. Give them a choice when they come to a deficit. We built software that explains all that to them to the client. So what you end up with, okay, you've lost 10 pounds, you've lost, let's say, 3% body fat, and you've come to your progress is dramatically slowed or stopped. Okay. So it's going to say, do you want to stay? The question is, you want to stay on goal, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? You want to get down to that 170 that we talked about, or down to the 12% body fat from 20, whatever the goal was. Then we're going to have to make an adjustment. Okay. Because your body is now adapted to it. You're now what we call stable weight. All right. Stable body composition. So let's make an adjustment. So here's your choices. My first advice to you will be this. I want you to take your daily activities and increase those. So all our clients, they have a step counter, whether it's in their phone or whether it's in their Fitbit or any of these type of things, or just all you need is a pedometer. And okay, so I see you're doing 8,000 steps a day. I want you to go to 12,000. And I'm saying, we call that non-exercise activity, right? That's a spontaneous physical activity. So in other words, there's a whole, that's the first thing we give them, because that way you don't have to change the diet. And they don't have to add more work. So all you're doing is standing rather than sitting. And we teach them exact numbers. So all you got to, there's about, I forget, 2,500 steps in a mile, depending on your stride, of course, 2,000 to 3,000, whatever. And that burns 100 to 150, depending on your weight, more calories than sitting. Yeah. And you can do that in your office while you're on the phone. Yeah. Like you always see me on the phone. I am never sitting when I'm on the phone. I am always standing, unless I'm doing a lecture. Then that's different, because I'm looking at the PowerPoint and everything else. But I mean, I will always be moving and just standing. So standing and pacing burns twice as many calories as sitting. Right. Imagine that 8 hours a day. You don't have to worry about lowering your calories. So your daily activities, go for a walk. I always tell people, go to the mall without your purse or without your wallet. It's just walk around there and enjoy what you're looking at. Don't spend the money unless you want to, but you get my point. Yeah. Find ways to move in non-exercise activities, which everybody has room to do that. Yeah. I don't care who you are, what you are. We live in this world where we just sit down, and then we have to hurry up to go somewhere else and sit down again. Yeah. Right. So if you can stand up, and I used to watch all your games back in the day, right? I was always standing and pacing. All the other parents are sitting around like this. I'm sitting there just moving around, just milling around, burning twice as many calories as everybody else is. So I don't have to drop my calories. So the first thing you want to do, increase your daily activities some way. I'm not talking about running. I'm talking about just walking and pacing and, deliberately moving, those type of things. So that's the first thing.
Yeah, the kids got a term for that these days. It's called "go touch grass."
Is that right?
Just go step outside and do something.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, good.
It's
okay.
People in the gaming community, they sit in a chair and play video games all day. It's like go touch grass, get outside and move around.
And not only that, it's hard to eat when you're moving. So you're not picking at food that's laying around in front of you. That's the problem. When you got food laying around in front of you, or snacks or anything, and you're sitting down. We already know that that's mindless eating. You just kind of put it in there and you forget about the calories that are in there. And if no one saw you eat it, the calories don't count. Yeah. So there's all kinds of little things there. Yeah. When you move, you can outmove how much you can eat by just milling around. Yeah. And it's fun. And it gets you just active, and it's obviously good for you.
Yeah, it's healthier. That's how you would.
That's the first thing, first option.
That's how you manipulate it through. I guess, is that a lifestyle change,
or is that
because that's non-exercise?
It's non-exercise. It is a lifestyle change. It's rather when you're on the phone, rather than sitting down, get up. Yeah. So that's a lifestyle change. Any of those little tiny things, And
that's how you don't need to break through a plateau via exercise or
calories
diet
or calories. Exactly. Right.
So
exactly. That's the first thing I give everybody, and everybody always picks that. Yes, I'll do that, because I go like this. Otherwise, I'm going to drop you 500 more calories or 250 more calories. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Okay. That's my last hook. And you're going to have to do that at some point, depending on how low they want to go and how much work they want to do. Yeah. So we can get into the exercise part in a minute.
Yeah, the exercise part. So assuming they are adhering to a exercise and workout protocol. So
I'm lucky because we work in the gym business.
Yeah, so, when you're fighting a weight loss or fat loss plateau and you're already exercising, how do you compensate, or how do you beat that plateau now with exercise?
Oh, with exercise.
Well, is that one of the pillars that you use
we
to
do, because we want what exercise tells your body when you're in a deficit. What exercise tells your body, it tells you, oh, maybe I shouldn't take muscle because I need it. I'll take fat for that deficit Remember, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So the energy has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it comes from muscle, it comes from your body fat. That's where it comes in conventional dieting. Yeah. Exercise is one tool we use to make sure it comes from fat. Now it's still going to come from muscle a little bit. That's why we supplement. That's the second part of that part.
Yeah.
We don't let nobody goes to a weight loss program without supplementing in our world, because
Yeah.
you got to be in a calorie deficit, but you don't want to be in a nutrient deficit.
Yeah.
So we get the nutrients without calories. We can go further a little later. But so that's on exercise. Here's where you go with that. So let's say, hey, listen, I don't mind working out a little bit more. Okay, then let's do that. So they're doing 20 minutes of cardio. I'll move them up to 35 minutes of cardio, more intense moving, whether it be a treadmill, Stairmaster, or whatever they're using. It's just a little more movement there, and that'll help burn a few more calories a day when they're in the gym working out. And their strength training, they're always going to be doing some strength training. Yeah. Again, we're not going to change unless they want to change a little bit more. Just changing your mode of cardio. So going from a treadmill to a Stairmaster, and you're doing the same amount of time, same amount of intensity, you'll end up burning more calories as the body has to get used to that. It's a trick. We always use that for bodybuilders getting ready for a show, which is the way we should probably close this thing, how we get those people all the way down. But all the little tricks, 3 days low, 1 day high, and all that cool stuff. Anyway, so yeah, that's an exercise. You can just bump up your cardio a little bit, or, hey, listen, walking is exercise. So when you're doing let's say you're doing your 40-minute walk or whatever it is daily, do it more briskly. Go to you've seen those walking events, right? Yeah. Where the people are
just change the intensity.
Yeah, change the intensity, and you're going to burn literally twice as many calories changing in that thing. So there's one way you can use exercise. Of course, you can just keep piling it on, like we do for bodybuilders. They end up doing an hour of cardio in the morning, an hour in the afternoon to get that body fat all the way down, because I can't cut their calories too much. Otherwise, we really start to lose muscle at the end. You don't want to do that. So that's the exercise. That's how you just manipulate the exercise, manipulating the daily activities first.
Without having to add another
30 minutes of cardio.
Workout. Yeah, that's basically another workout on top of whatever. You just change the intensity within your workout or exercise. And
you can add a little extra time if you needed to as well, but you could double up on the intensity and make a difference with exercise right there.
Right. With that, we kind of just went through diet, exercise, and lifestyle.
Yeah. But I mean, diet we haven't really covered yet.
Okay, so
that's my last hook.
Okay.
Because I don't want to. I don't want to give it to them.
I'll ask the question, how do you, what adjustments in the diet do you do to overcome a weight loss or fat loss plateau?
If you've got a client or you got somebody that's not good at food logging, then I just say, what's your biggest meal today? And if they say dinner, I'll cut it in half. I'll say, that's about 200 calories cut right there, 300. I like to cut them 200 to 300 calories in the next plateau thing.
And why is this the last thing you like to do to propose?
Because hunger. The reason people give up diets is hunger. You start craving everything that you've cut yourself out in your life, and then you start craving foods you never even liked before. Yeah. Looking in cookbooks. When I finish this diet, I'm going to eat this. I'm going to eat this. So as soon as when you start cutting all that out there, and I want to keep the muscle moving as well. Right. So I don't want to keep dropping calories first. Now, there's times when you have to. You get these movie stars that I've got to get ready for movies and so forth. All the big people out there that they're behind and they've got a body shot coming up. Yeah. I mean, I got to drop their calories so low.
That's a cut more than a diet.
It's more, this is something they have to do like a bodybuilder getting ready for a show almost, and they'll do whatever I tell them to do to make sure they get there. They make a lot of money. They're motivated to do it. The average person isn't motivated to just keep cutting calories and sit there like this, starved to death all the time. So that's why it's the last thing you want to do. Yeah. If you're working with anybody or somebody personally that's listening to this, listen, you've got a lot of other tools. The most important one is what we call NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is that spontaneous physical activity. Right. That's one is the most malleable, the most easy one to manipulate, and you can do it no matter what kind of condition you're in. Right. I don't care how fat you are, how skinny you are, you can move during the day. Yeah. You just got it, and that's an easy one.
Yeah, and we talked about that once, and how if you cut your calories down too much, that can impact your
the amount you want to move.
Right?
Yeah,
I know for me, I become just a
and that's the other thing when people come to a plateau. We'll get to that about reporting your food intake versus your movement. We'll get to that on the other point there.
Okay,
so That's the last thing. So your first thing is you're going to want daily activities. Your second thing, if we can move your exercise around a little bit, kind of change the mode, change the activity, intensity, we'll do that as well. Okay. And then we can do that. Let's maybe a second adjustment. And then the last thing I do want to do, and again, we're going to, there's no way if you're going from 200 pounds to 150, let's say, that you're going to be eating the same amount of calories all the way down to 150.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to make
from
some
where
moves
you
for
started.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you want me to just keep piling on an hour a day, more exercise. Right. But then obviously that's not going to happen. So yeah, you're not going to stay at that calorie. Now, the beauty, and this is where everyone's going to love me for saying this. When you get down to 150 and you hit your goal, guess what? Your calories get to go up to maintain it. Because don't forget, if I kept you in a deficit, you're going to keep going until you're gone. So the bottom line is you get to go up. So maybe you add 500 calories, you go up and your workload comes down. And that's why clients, everyone we always work with and we teach them, they just love that. Okay, I can do it then.
Yeah, once you hit the goal.
Yeah, you get the goal, you just bring calorie back up.
You just gotta
Not
push.
back up to where you were.
Right,
and you're eating, hopefully you're now addicted to the movement that you're doing and addicted to the better foods.
And how you look,
Because you'd
too.
be surprised what happens when you get down that pounds. All of a sudden, that food you used to like now doesn't taste as good as it did back when you were fat.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to hopefully like the way you look too now.
Yeah, that's
so
what I mean.
That's going to keep you
so you have a
motivated
reason.
to not.
I always say my job is to get you addicted to fitness, and that's what I do.
I guess I'll ask because I guess it's part of the diet too, right? Because we've talked about supplements and what you're going to do in order to, if you looked at our previous fat loss episode or the lose fat, gain muscle, we always talk about there's a baseline of supplements you need to be taking to keep your nutrients up. But is there any supplements you use to break through a weight loss plateau?
Yeah, there are some thermogenics out there. We actually make one that it's got a thermogenic blend, very mild, but it works. It actually bumps your metabolism 5 or 10%. So let's say my basal metabolic rate, I'm burning sitting here. 24, if sitting here or lying here 24 hours a day, that's what we call basal metabolic rate, right? Motionless or sleeping metabolic rate too, and then resting metabolic, all these things. But bottom line is not moving. That's your basal metabolic rate basically. And let's say for me, it's 1,600 calories, okay? Well, I can bump that up about 160 calories, which is significant, right?
Yeah.
By taking a thermogenic blend. And caffeine does that alone. Just caffeine will take you up 5%, and then maybe even a little more on some people, depending on your genetics and how much you're drinking a day too. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so yes, there's some thermogenic blends that will bump your metabolism. At the same time, it can help manage appetite. And that's what we give people to speed and ease the journey. So think of it that way. Those aren't foundational supplements because we talked about you have to take your multi and your protein is going to be 2 or 3 times higher when you're in a weight loss situation to protect your lean body
When you
mass.
say 2 or 3 times higher, what is?
Than the RDA.
Okay.
Yeah. So a gram per pound of lean body mass, no matter who you are. And then the leaner you get, the higher that's going to go.
Sometimes I get confused because we always say a gram per pound with lean
It is
body
a gram
mass,
per
and then
pound.
you say 2 or 3 times more than what you were before. But that's just the RDA.
The RDAs, right. Thank you for
clearing just want to.
Yeah, the RDA is the dumbest thing. Anybody with nutrition IQ higher than 12 knows that.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so you got your vitamins, minerals, and then the protein.
So you make sure, because remember, when you cut your calories, what else are you cutting?
Your nutrients.
Your nutrients. So we don't want you in a nutrient deficit, just a calorie deficit. So make sure you're taking your complete multi and your protein and baseline and your omegas if you're not eating fish. Then you're good. Then the next thing is how fast you want to go. That's what I always ask people. How fast do you want to go and how easy do you want the journey? And they'll go, well, I don't want to go slow and I do want the journey to be easier and comfortable. Okay, then I can give them something to help speed the journey a little bit. Bumping their metabolism, so I have to cut their food.
Yeah.
Because if I can because don't forget, when you use a thermogenic blend, it doesn't just bump your basal metabolic rate a little bit.
Yeah.
It makes you want to move more.
Yeah.
Because you're more active during the day.
Yeah.
And now you are doing the daily activities more. So it's a double win.
And thermogenic blend is that not drugs, right?
No. This is caffeine.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yerba mate. There's some other ones out there that you can mix with. Capsaicin is another one that's part of a thermogenic blend. That's that stuff in red peppers.
Yeah.
It makes you kind of heat up.
Spice.
And we're trying to fire up your brown fat in your body, which is the good fat that actually burns calories, just wastes them. Yeah. It's that heat that you get. That's what we're trying to do with any of those types of things. And we're just trying to, and by the way, caffeine also is what we call like an energy partitioner. So it helps you protect lean body mass while you're going for body fat as well.
Really?
And you're in a deficit. It doesn't directly, it just indirectly does, because it causes your body to use fat when it's in a deficit.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just a little bit. There's other kinds of partitioning.
So we were talking about kind of how nutrients and then talking about boosting your metabolism. So what is starvation mode and what is is there such thing as a damaged metabolism?
Yeah. No and no. Yeah, the starvation mode is a myth that really kind of popped up in I guess about the 70s, and when people started getting fat. And then just quickly how that myth started. When people started getting fat, and then they're coming in, they're working with a dietitian, or they're working with a nutritionist, or coming in the 80s, they're coming into our clubs, and we would sit there, and someone would weigh 230 pounds, and they say, okay, so tell us what you eat. They would write down what they eat, and it comes out to about 1,200 calories a day. So in the beginning, people would go, because they're believing the person. Yeah. And it's not that the person is trying to lie. We used to trick them, though. We'd go like this: tell me what you eat on a good day, on a regular day. Tell me what you eat on a regular day. And they put it all down, right? Tell me what you eat on a bad day. And then we just take the bad day. That's what they eat every day. Yeah. And so we would get an idea anyway. But anyway, bottom line was there. So everybody, of course, you're going to believe the person across from you. Yeah. And they would come in and they didn't lose any body fat for the last 3 weeks, and yet you had them on a significant calorie reduction. And they say, I follow a diet to the T, everything. And okay, well, they obviously didn't. That'd be impossible because But so what I'm saying is this: they're not purposely lying, but what they're doing is they're underreporting their daily intake, and we have all the studies that show that. The heavier you are, the more you underreport. Not necessarily consciously. Yeah. Lots of other reasons that could be there. So what happened was the way we blew the myth up. Because people would go like, well, you're obviously eating too little. Your metabolism must be dead. Yeah. Okay, but the metabolism does flex when you drop your calories, a very small amount, maybe 5% when you drop your calories immediately, just kind of protect. And then it also, when you overeat, it bumps your metabolism up. So it just flexes tiny bit in both ways. Now, so that's not crashing a metabolism at all, which is doing the right thing, what it needs to do. But what we're talking about here is that when these people are telling you they're eating 1,000 calories a day, and then these dietitians and all these nutritionists and even my trainers would go, it's in starvation mode, where you shut your body down. Well, let me put that in perspective for you. Have you ever seen what starving people look like? And the Minnesota did a study back in the old days. I mean, they're emaciated. Yeah. The body will never stop losing fat. So they would just say, well, there must be in a starvation mode. Well, bottom line is starving people, if you die of starvation, you don't die fat. No. So you've all seen those pictures. We've all know what that looks like. That's not. So there's no such thing as that starvation mode. But there is such a thing as this. Let's say you're eating 2,000 calories a day. And let's say you're 250 pounds, and I go, well, we got to get you down to, or let's say you're burning 2,500. You couldn't be, because anybody 250 pounds, if you just sat here, you're burning 25 to 3,000 calories, 2,500, 3,000, just sat here for your whole day. And we know that because here's how we busted everybody. We put the obese people in metabolic chambers and measured their total calorie burn for 24 hours. Yeah. And so we would match that to their food records, 1,200 calories a day. Well, your body just burned 3,200 calories a day. Because obviously fat people burn more than lean people. Yeah. That's just the way it works. So it was just the whole thing was kind of, that busted the myth, but it's still out there. It's still there. So what could happen is this. Let's say you're burning 2,500 calories a day. And I say, well, okay, that's too low for you, and I bump you up to 3,000. That just means that the calories, the extra 500 made you feel so good, you burnt an extra 1,000 calories, right? Yeah. So you did put yourself in a deficit by adding calories. Yeah. Because I also gave you a workout program that burnt those calories. Yeah. So that's how the myth kind of stays alive. Or since they're now in a program, they're now recording their food properly versus not properly before. So underreporting is a big deal. I have to teach all our trainers that. Understand, you want to believe your client, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But here's what never lies. Ready? Numbers don't lie. People do. Yeah. I measure your body fat. If it ain't going down and I cut your calories, because don't forget, if it's not going down, you're at a plateau, right? Yeah. Stay with me. So I've got someone at 15% body fat. It's not gone down. They've been in a deficit for 2 straight weeks now because I'm measuring every 2 weeks, and it hasn't gone down. Very, very simply, the body composition hasn't changed. That is now your maintenance, right? And I make them agree. Would you agree, since you didn't change, that this number that you've been writing down in your book or whatever you're saying you're eating, that's your maintenance, right? And they go, yeah, okay. Well, then take 500 calories off that. You just take, here, let's do it right now. We mark 500 calories down from that. So even if the whole thing said 1,000 calories, now it's down to 500. Yeah. It's a human math issue. Well, I already know that nothing's going to happen. I ain't going to hurt them dropping them 500 if they're still at 15% body fat. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. So it becomes sort of a game. You have to have been doing it for 40 years like I have around the world and with millions and millions of people in our club. So, and you really understand how to play it. So those are the things we teach all of our trainers. That you want to believe in everything else, but when you bust them, we always say everyone that we work with gets to their goal, or they know exactly why they didn't. Yeah. We say, well, that is our mantra. You didn't there because obviously you're not recording your food properly, basically at that point. So let's just move it from what you're eating today, eat exactly the same thing you ate the last couple of weeks, and let's take 500 out of there, 500 here, 100 here, 100 here, and boom. Or you're going to move 500 more calories.
Yeah, and for the people that are going to be watching this, let's just say for the fact that if anyone said they're insulin resistant, you tackled that in the beginning and you acknowledged that and you got them back to not being insulin resistant. So, because there's going to be people that they're probably just insulin resistant or something like that. They're going to say that, so when they hear you say that.
You're not calorie resistant because every single cell in your body is using calories every day, and energy's not created nor destroyed. And that's all
and you already lost
measurement.
Some weight.
Yeah.
So
right. Exactly. You lost some. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're already at the point.
And whatever insulin resistant you were when you were fat, you're a lot less now.
That's what I'm saying. You're not insulin resistant when you're already halfway to your goal, You're just hitting a plateau.
So there's no such thing as starvation mode. Don't let people use that. Just say, hey, listen, let's just take away that you're eating 1,200 and here's the menu I'm going to give you. Yeah. And put a nice clean menu together for them for 1,500 or 2,000, whatever. So let's start here and we'll work it. And then you can tell them, hey, you got to eat more. Go ahead and tell them that if you want. You got to eat more so you can burn more. Go ahead and tell them. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Okay. But that's not exactly what's happening.
And so since we talked a little bit about like the type of calories, so how can the type of calories affect your weight loss or fat loss progress?
Well, I don't want to, we can go to a drastic thing, 2,000 calories of French fries, you're not going to want to move.
Right.
So instead of burning 2,000 calories a day, you're now burning probably basal metabolic rate as you just kind of pass out in your chair. Right. So let's face it, no question. So let's make this easy. If you're working with someone, listen, I don't care if you want to do intermittent fasting, fine. Even if you want to do a keto diet, it's fine. It's all modified stuff or caveman shit, whatever these frickin' diets are out there.
Everything's got its place.
Yeah, right. As long as it cuts your calories, and which it will.
And you can adhere to it.
Intermittent, exactly. So it's what makes you feel best. But just get your gram per pound of protein. But if ideally, and if you look at, and listen, we have all the stats here. So we call them successful weight maintainers. University of Pittsburgh and University of Colorado house the weight control registry. The only way you get in there is that you've lost over 30 pounds and kept it off for 1 year, 5 years, okay, and then 10 years. Mm-hmm. And there's probably a bunch of other things in between. And they look at the common denominators of these successful weight maintainers. Yeah. There was no one single diet that was better than another. It was just calorie restrictions, but multiple meals, 4 or 5 times a day, moving, not necessarily a gym workout or anything, but moving constantly, and they would do exercise. And the other one was their calories were about 40% carbohydrate, 30% protein, 30% fat was kind of where they all kind of fell into it when you looked at the overall picture. Yeah. Because no one's going to stay in a keto diet forever, and they shouldn't anyway, unless you're really supplementing the shit out of your diet because there's too many holes in it all the way around. Yeah, true keto. I mean, they're great for clinical reasons. There's clinical reasons, epilepsy, and things like this. Intermittent fasting happens to be a good way for people because they can't eat too much in that little window of 8 hours they eat or whatever. So that's actually a good way to cut calories. It's just that long term, it doesn't keep your body anabolic. There's too many times you're catabolic. and then you end up not having as much muscle later on in life.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the beast. That's why, again, find a diet that allow you to keep your calories where they need to be. And they're easy to cut when you have to cut them again if you're going a little further.
Yeah.
That's all. And then get back to something that's comfortable. I don't mind you using a shitty diet just to get there. Now, wait till we can go to the 3 days low, 1 day high. That's another big one that we do.
Well,
we'll get to that later on.
I think that's another episode of where we can
get bodybuilding prep.
We
favorite thing,
need content to pump out anyways,
right,
so we might as well save it for another episode.
We have tricks.
On the hook.
We have tricks of the trade for sure.
So we'll get to that another time. The type of calories, and the type of diet. Yeah. So
healthy foods. Just think of it. And by the way, vegetables are basically free. I'm not talking about cooking them.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about frying them and throwing a bunch of shit on it.
Right.
Okay. We're talking about vegetables. Your lettuce. I mean, you can eat a bowl of lettuce like this with 15 calories in it. It's a ridiculous number, and that helps you stay full. A little bit. And you put non-fat dressings on it while you're getting to your goal.
Oh, what I wanted to say was basically all of those diets, doesn't matter if it's keto, intermittent fasting, conventional, they all adhere to a calories in, calories out.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Well, of course, here's the thing. The common denominator of people that are successful is, and they got tons of studies on this when they put them all together, their calories were lower than their burn. That was the common denominator.
Yeah.
In other words, the difference in their weight was the difference in the calorie differences of the intake and output. So that was comical. It's just that, but people sticking with the diet, it's easier to stick with your standard caloric restriction than it is any of those for any length of time.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting, I've seen some good stuff on it though, as far as people stick with it for a while.
Yeah.
And again, those people that are using it, they need to diet. So it's okay. Remember this, everybody listening. Weight loss, or in my world, body fat reduction itself trumps the method. In other words, your health benefits are going to be from the weight loss, not the method you did the diet.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah.
You look at weight loss drugs. Weight loss drugs, you got all these new indications for them, cardiovascular health, dementia, and everything else. It's the weight loss that's happening. So the drugs are indirectly affecting you because they're causing the weight loss. So you follow what I'm saying there?
Kind of.
Okay, well, let's get it out here because people need to know this.
Okay.
That's why I gave up 15 years ago telling people what the fuck diet to eat. Yeah. I know what they should eat. I know what it's like to be healthy. Mediterranean diets, those kind of things, the things that we would all structure for ourselves, all those kind of, we know that. Okay? But bottom line is they're going to pick all these things. So the bottom line is, if you're trying to lose body fat and you're trying to get, and then you're going to get the health benefits from it. It's not the diet. Weight loss is giving you the health benefits. So that trumps the method when it comes to your health benefits.
Forget what method you choose.
Yeah,
as long as you can lose the weight,
correct.
Forget about what
you're going to get the health benefits that go along with weight loss, which is cardiovascular health and all the other different things,
which will outweigh if there's any detriment to your diet,
metabolic
or
syndrome, diabetes, all these kind of things. It's the weight loss that's allowing.
Yeah. So unfortunately for the people that have to take a weight loss drug.
Yeah.
At least the weight loss is the net. It's a net positive rather than a negative.
It is
for taking a drug. You know,
but you can't. You just can't afford it, and that's the average person goes off it after about a year for lots of reasons. The stuff where it cuts your appetite, you just got to supplement twice as much with those people. That's when they come into our gyms. We make sure they're getting all their supplements.
I think that covers most of the stuff we were talking about. But I just want to ask when you are facing a plateau, are plateaus harder to overcome as you become closer to your goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I tell everybody, the leaner you get, the tougher it gets. No question about that. I mean, again, making a living as an athlete as I did, and obviously a physique bodybuilding, only at the very end. A meager one while I was an athlete, but still I did it, of course, with golds. But bottom line is, that's what you do for a living. So you're going into pain. Yeah. We call them death days, the last few weeks, of your dieting into there, because your body fat's got to get down, measuring it with calipers, 1% to 2%. You got to be able to see your striations and all throughout your whole body, and you're miserable. It's a miserable world, but it's going to be over in a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. So the question was,
the
leaner you get, the more tough it gets. I mean, and we're doing 2.5 hours of cardio a day. You're down to 3 days low, 1 day high. We'll get to another point.
Yeah, well, not necessarily bodybuilders where you got to get so extreme, but like when you're losing 50 pounds and you want those last 10 pounds, is that last 10 pounds going to be harder than when you had a plateau at 30 to 20?
Absolutely. There's no question that the leaner you get, the more difficult it's going to get leaner because your body's fighting against you even more. So your natural defense mechanisms, your appetites, all the other different things that have come along, and the fact that you're 50 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
It's just less calories you're burning when you're that much lighter. So yes, you got to do more work, or you got to cut the calories a little bit, or like we said, we could change the diet to make you want to move more or give you a supplement to help you there. But yes, it's definitely going to be more difficult. It's going to be more work. But what I tell you, when you get there, you get to go back. You get to go not all the way back. You get to add a few calories there. So,
you get to
the leaner you get, the more
energy
difficult.
balance.
Yeah, more difficult it's going to be for sure.
So we'll get to a little bit of the frequently asked questions. There's just two frequently asked questions when it comes to breaking a weight loss plateau. So this isn't necessarily breaking a weight loss plateau, but this is during your weight loss journey. So what does somebody do, or is there anything the person can do when they're losing the weight, but you haven't lost the weight in the areas you want it to go away?
Oh, spot reducing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that is a big one right there, by the way. I think we probably get 10 a day in our Ask the Experts to us. Right. About, okay, well, listen, I got belly fat now, or I can't get the fat off my butt, or, this or that, whatever. I mean, everyone stores fat. It's really genetically determined from birth for a while. And then as we get older, it starts moving around, but it's still genetically determined. When we get older, women going through menopause, they'll start storing it in their belly. Okay, that's why he says belly fat everywhere around there, all that types. Bottom line, it is genetically determined where your body's going to store fat. So for instance, I'm a classic example. When I was a bodybuilder, the last fat that would come off me as I'm dieting with my legs, right on my legs and my butt, last place to get striated. I'm just shredded everywhere up here, and I got to go like that. Now, my legs they're extremely lean, and now that fat, even though my natural percentage wouldn't change, it's just shifted. So there's more around the belly, around the waist now, and the legs don't hold any fat.
Yeah.
So, but the fat percentage would be the same if you would just kind of shift. It's just shifting places.
Yeah.
That's hormone driven with genetics as well.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening there. So we get every question. Well, how do I get rid of my belly fat? Do I do sit-ups and everything else? Well, all sit-ups are going to do is build the muscle underneath there, which is good for, when I say sit-ups, you're talking about core work. It's if you can hypertrophy your abdominals, it'll just push your fat out further. Okay, so bottom line is, if there was such thing as spot reducing, people that chew gum would have skinny faces. Your butt would never have any fat because that's the only thing that actually moves every day for you when you're walking. So we know that's not the case. And unfortunately, sometimes you lose fat when you're in a diet where you don't want to.
Yeah.
So you can't control that. There's no way. And there's tons of studies about that as far as spot reducing belly fat. There's none. And I love it. I just love those are internet distractions you just want to avoid.
Yeah.
Like it's foods that cause belly fat, foods that get rid of belly fat. Yeah. I go, really? I mean, this is just that is strictly science fiction. And just ignore it, flush it down the toilet. For you to lose fat anywhere, it's going to take it naturally from wherever it is, as long as you're in a deficit. And sometimes, ladies, you lose it where we don't want you to lose it either. You lose in the wrong places. So, it goes there. Nothing you can do. You just got to keep in there. You got to stay in there now. Like a guy, if you're trying to lose belly fat and you're shredded everybody else, but you still got this little thing you got here, you just got to keep going if you want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But be careful. I mean, do you really want to keep that workload up to get it, or can you live with that little bit maybe there or whatever? I'm just
pouch.
Depends on the work. But the bottom line is you can't spot reduce. Don't let anybody tell you that. Flush those commercials off the internet and all these influencers about belly fat bullshit. Yeah. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
There's enough studies out there to
So
show
what
that
you're saying is
yeah,
people they might go on a weight loss or fat loss journey to lose that belly fat.
Yeah.
And so that is your whole motive for getting on this, right?
Yep.
And so say you need to lose 30 pounds, you've already lost 15 and your stomach hasn't changed at all. So you just need to stay on the diet long enough.
And
Because you're like, I lost 15 pounds. Why don't I, like, that's the thing that causes them to be self-conscious.
Absolutely. And I don't blame them.
You know?
I don't blame them. I mean, I'd be pissed off too.
Yeah.
You know, but the bottom line is there is no magic. There's no magic supplement or any of those things. I mean, visceral fat, moving it, if there's anything there, visceral fat is the fat that surrounds our organs. It's not the subcutaneous. That's subcutaneous fat, right? It's the ones that surrounds our organ. And that's dangerous. Yeah. Okay, cardiovascular problems, all types of things. Now, there is some evidence that some good hard aerobic work might go after this first a little bit, but it's insignificant. That if you've got that extra 15 pounds, and trust me, if you've lost 15 pounds, some of us did come from there. It's just maybe in your genetic situation, it's not as much as you wanted it to be.
Right.
Yeah. So the answer is you're 100%. You got to keep going. Yeah, you got to keep going, and it'll go. It'll go. Trust me, it'll go. There's no one in the world. There's no one in the world that will hold on to fat if you're working with me, because you're just going to listen to what I do, and it's going to be gone. I don't mean. I'm talking about what we do. You know. So bottom line is, you're definitely. It'll go. It's just. It could be some pain to get it off that last place.
No, I store it in my legs too.
Yeah.
And like you said, like the last place you lose it is the first place it comes back.
That's right.
So,
That's right. And you ask your mom,
reality.
I mean, her body fat shifted a lot. You know, she's gone through menopause now, and things have really changed. Menopause is a big change in the way you store fat.
Yeah. Shout out my mother. Yeah. All right. Last question here that we got. Are there factors that can hinder weight loss progression? So things that could lead you to a plateau, such as like medications, genetics, and age? Absolutely.
All of those, what you just said. There are medicines that just torture your appetite. They make you crave foods that don't make sense to you. You might eat here. Also medications that make you move less during the day. And that's a very important one to talk about here as we talk about these things. So menopause, there's no question that things are changing. The way you move during the day, because you just don't feel great all the time. Your stomach's bothering you. You know, you just don't. So your daily activities are slowing down. You don't even know it. You're still going to the gym. You're still working out, but you feel like you're putting on weight. What's happened is you're unaware of it. Your daily activities have slowed down. Yeah. That's why when I created the Body Bug, that's how, on The Biggest Loser and all these things, that was the way you knew how much you were moving exactly, because that was a real clinical device. Put it on your arm. It tells you exactly. It's not like, I mean, again, I'm not knocking Fitbit or any other ones out there. At least they'll be directionally correct. Right. But ours was a clinical device, so it was spot on. Yeah. And that's how we got in The Biggest Loser. And we could tell you exactly how much you were going to lose and how many calories you were burning every single day. And so we knew how much to give you and all those things. So what happened is we would find that out. So people that were moving, so here's a good one for everybody to remember this. Take an example of a John Doe, and we kept this as a case study. So for all our trainers and everybody else, when they're working with clients, that was going to the gym 5 days a week, working out regularly, doing 30 minutes of cardio, doing his strength training regularly, okay? Following his diet to a T, body was where he wanted it to be, trainer got him right where he was. And then after about, still doing everything the same, he started gaining like a pound every 2 weeks, another pound and another pound. He goes, God, am I just getting old? I'm doing exactly the same work. In fact, he even started doing a little more work in the gym, and he was still gaining a pound. So what's the answer to that? What do you think, if you had to take a guess?
So
this is a case study we give to our thousands of trainers.
You said he was getting older?
He was getting older. Yeah, well, I mean, it was only one, this was all in a 6-month period, though. Yeah.
So he...
never missed a workout. So it wasn't that. And following his diet, the only reason we thought that because he was, for the last year, he's been exactly where he wanted to be.
Oh, you just started eating more, no?
No. He actually, we would guess that first.
Yeah.
But this was not those underreporting type people. So what's left between your workout and your food?
So he's working out more.
Well, a little bit.
His lifestyle.
Just the same.
His lifestyle, his NEAT went.
Bingo. Guess what happened? He was promoted from a floor guy working on the floor in a warehouse, moving nonstop, carrying stuff like a UPS driver, to a foreman where he's sitting at a desk all day. Yeah. He never equated that with the amount of calories you burn in a day. Yeah. This is before the bodybuilding.
That's probably your most significant. That's your most significant amount of.
You've changed. You've changed. So I'm going back to the menopause and medication. You've changed that. Those 23 hours you're not in the gym, those have changed, and that's where you're burning less calories. You don't even know it. Yeah. You're unaware of it. So that's where it is. So the medication causes that. Your menopause will cause that. Your whole routine has been uplifted. There's all types of things that will. And then, people do the thyroid thing and they sit there and I go, listen, the thyroid thing. I mean, if I've heard it once, I've heard it 10 million times back in the day, always. Hey, first question we ask, are you on thyroid medication? Then your thyroid's okay. Because they measure it. And in fact, if anything, it's probably better than someone else's. Yeah. It's just these little things that they fall back on. And again, I'm not blaming them. There's the same answer to get through it. You're just going to have to push through it. You look at, you look at so many people that are wildly sick. We have bodybuilders that are through menopause, 65-year-old female and male bodybuilders, 70-year-old bodybuilders, they compete. Yeah. So there's nothing will ever stop you. It's just, to your point, Zane, and the question, it's harder for some people. Yeah. One is the genetic component, though. Yeah. Because the genetics really control a lot of your appetite. There are people who just ravenous and they can't control it. Again, you can because you're the one that's putting the stuff in your mouth. Right. I get it. But the point is, it's much more difficult to control appetite. And those are the candidates for drugs if they've been weight cycling and they've already tried things 3 or 4 times. They need those things to cut it down. Yeah. But you can't go off the drug. That's why I have
that saying, right? Like, you can blame it on so many things, but the problem is every time your elbow bends, your mouth opens.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. And again, I know it is. It's a tough one. And again, I have told, how many, so many people, the members of all of our clubs and everything else that we work with. And I get it. Listen, I know the pain they're going through. The difference was I went through the pain, obviously much more, but that's because of my job, right? I'm motivated. The people we work with, 100% of them get to their goal. Yeah. The people we work with when they're motivated, right? Because they're following directions. And then you deviate when if you're not getting paid $50 million for a movie, or you're not getting paid to win a show, or you can't go up on stage unless you're in shape. Yeah. They all get to their goal 100%. The average person, just the motivation isn't there. And that's what success is. Yeah. Success is motivation. Our job, though, is to lower the threshold to success, make it easier. Find that food program that works for them, and then give them the details we just did. First step, daily activities. Second step, maybe a little bit more in the gym. And then third step, we cut the calories. And you can do a combination of the 3. Yeah. Right off the bat, depending on how fast they want to get to a goal.
And then introduce supplements too.
Oh, well, the supplements are all, they don't get to work
that's
with
already,
us.
You've been on supplements.
Well, that's the program.
Yeah, at the beginning.
Yeah, that's not like, there's no conversation about it. They come to us because of that. Yeah. They realize that we actually, you guys put muscle on while you lose body fat. You're like the only group that can do that. Yeah. Because we feed nutrients with no calories, nutrients with very low calorie, calorically efficient nutrition levels through the roof.
And
so it keeps your metabolism up. See, the problem is when you lose muscle, your other things are going wrong. People that use complete multivitamins, they are leaner and they control appetite better because they're responsible for every part of your trillions of cells. Yeah. They're the ones they're responsible for all activity and metabolism, including appetite, so forth. So you just got to keep, that's the baseline. That's the trigger to everything. That's the igniters to everything. And then you go from there. Yeah. That's just a baseline.
Yeah. It's just, to get to having this conversation, you've already been there.
Stuff, yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's everything I had for today. So is there anything that you want to leave us with a takeaway or anything to add that we may not have covered? Anything you want to bring up? Anything with the nutrition analysis thing or anything like that? You said something about that before today. I
guess we could do that real quickly. When all our classes, the first things that we teach, and we've got again over hundreds of thousands of trainers we've taken care of throughout the years. First thing we teach them, because we don't want them to get distracted with what the client may be telling them when they come to a plateau. Because the client isn't generally accurate in sort of repeating what's been going on in their life, and even if they're journaling it, you just don't know. Because if that's not all their fault, the labels are wrong. They can be 20 to 30% off when they're doing those kind of things. But what will always be correct is the body composition change. Yeah, numbers don't lie. So just that's why we do that. But so we teach them 4 teaching anchors. 1, if you don't understand the law of thermodynamics, which is every mammalian structure adheres to, energy neither created nor destroyed. In other words, if you're wearing it, you ate it. Those kind of all those things. That's bottom line. So you have to understand that. Number 1. Number 2 is that there's a reason why our society keeps getting fatter. So obviously, there's no one diet that's going to work for anybody or any of those things. It's because we move less than we eat more than we move. No one can argue that. And that's because we live in a different world. We don't chase our food. Our food doesn't chase us. We live long enough to get fat now, and we can sit around, and most recreation is not the same as it used to be. So that's the reason why. It's just because that's just those two things. There's two teaching anchors. One, law of thermodynamics. Two, our society is generally is overweight because of the energy expenditure equation. The third one is we're not prisoner of our genes. There's no question that as we mentioned earlier, that genes make it a little more difficult for some people. If you come from a family where everyone's been overweight, there's two issues there. Probably environmentally, it's affecting you because they're feeding you shit you shouldn't be eating when you're young. Now you're addicted to it. It's very easy to get addicted to ultra-processed foods. We know that. It causes you to eat more because it tastes so frickin' good.
Yeah.
And now your heightened sensitivity to sweet and fun stuff. So we know that. But you're not a prisoner of that. People do lose weight and keep it off. So keep that in mind. So you just got to find that addiction to a lifestyle that's conducive to you. That's the third teaching engine. And the last one, which debunks the starvation mode and everything else, fat loss isn't like hypertrophy. At some point, you're going to stop building muscle.
Yeah.
You can lose fat until you die. And you'd be one skeleton by the time that happens. So there's no end to fat loss. Yeah. And that debunks the starvation mode thing. Yeah. That's the only reason we have to. So once you're locked down to those four, now you have that conversation with your client when they come to a plateau and you got it.
Yeah.
And you'd be able to, because you're not going to the internet looking, okay, I got belly fat. What should I do? Oh, I'm only eating 1,000 calories. What should I do? And there's all these Mickey Mouses out there that pretend they know something about this shit, that try to promote something and everything else. You will never be distracted. My trainers are never distracted with that stuff.
And so some, quacks trying to hit you with a specific diet, just understand that they're going to be putting you in a calorie deficit, and they're just trying to disguise it with fancy words and labels to make you think that you're not entering one.
Right.
Because there's so many people in our comments, I stopped counting. I don't need to count calories. Doesn't matter.
Good.
You're great.
Great.
You're in a calorie deficit.
Yeah, you're losing weight. You're in a calorie deficit. Whoa. And if that works for you, don't count calories and you're staying in a deficit. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's
what we're saying.
I don't have to have people start counting calories when I
we
put
got
them on a
people
diet.
in the comments acting like they're experts.
Yeah.
Oh, I eat 5,000 calories a day and I'm losing weight. And
okay.
I mean,
then you're burning 6,000 a day.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're bullshitting us completely, or you're just completely bullshitting us. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Your diet is putting you in a deficit.
You have to, because nothing on earth defies the laws of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
Go look it up and talk to any scientist.
Yeah. So
you can't just walk down the street and oh shit, I got fat.
We're not pro or against any diet.
Exactly.
Like we said, like he said, it's the weight loss, it's not the method.
That's right.
And that's where we should end
it. Yeah. The health benefits, the weight loss, right? I mean, the benefits of the weight loss, it's not the method, it's
right.
Yeah.
However
weight
you can
loss
achieve the weight
method.
loss,
Exactly.
is
weight
great.
Loss trumps the method.
It's great, and we support you.
Yeah.
And we wish you the best. And if you got a plateau, you can contact us and
use one of those 4 things I just gave you to do.
Or watch this video again, okay? So with that being said, that's a sign off, and we'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to take your multivitamin. Bye.